Well, what is up, Mission Church? Honored that Mission is a part of your weekend. My name is Mike Hickerson. I'm honored to be the lead pastor of Mission Church. And this is the most normal season we've ever been in our entire life. 2020 has been so easy. I'm just kidding. Man, I know it's been a journey for all of us, and we're all kind of feeling all kinds of emotions and all kinds of feelings and all kinds of stresses that were underway. And I know that. I just would want to remind us that God is good, that God has not bailed on any of us, no matter what we believe about God or no matter what we believe about his son Jesus or the Bible, that God is who he says he is and will do everything that he's promised to do. And so no matter if you've been wavering in your faith or been wavering in frustration, God has not bailed on us. He is good, he is for us, and this is actually not the worst thing that the church has ever been through. So the church will thrive under hardship because the church has always been about the people. And so if you're just hanging out with Mission, man, honored that's a part of your weekend. I know it's a crazy season, but like what I love about Mission is that we exist, like the mission of Mission is to help people find and follow Jesus. So we know that the church has never been a building, it's always been a people, and we miss gathering. I get that. We're going to figure out how to keep gathering online. We got the monthly gatherings that we are pumped about. Invite your world. I can't wait for that. But we still are on mission together as the people of Mission because it's always been a people, not a building. And what I love about this is that we, all of us, it's not just my job, it's all of our jobs. We help. We can't do everything for people, but we can help. We can't find Jesus for people, but we can help. We can't follow Jesus for people, but we can help. And so we help people like neighbors, people that we meet online, our people that we work with, are the people that we wish our kids could go to school with, but it's going to be online. Anyway, we help those people that we're on teams with. We help them find and follow Jesus, and we go after it together. And it's been the privilege of my life to be a part of this church. Man, we've been in this series called Red Letters where we've said, okay, let's just strip everything away. Let's get away. And so the red letters, if you don't know, you probably heard it a couple times, but if you're just checking into this series, the red letters of the Bible, a couple hundred or 1,000 years after the Bible was printed, someone said hey, let's signify Jesus' words in the Bible, so let's print them in red. Normally, when I was in English, if I got something circled in red, it was bad. But apparently, the Bible thought, let's put Jesus letters in red and it's good. So there you go. That's where red letters comes from. And we've just been walking through the red letters, like the specific words of Jesus of the first sermon that he ever preached. It's actually it's a famous sermon. It's the best sermon of all time. It's Matthew 5-7. It's called the Sermon on the Mount. And we've actually been focusing just on the first 8 verses of that sermon, where he kind of sets up a whole new way to live. He's never preached before in his life. He's been this guy that people are wondering about, and he gets up front and he starts speaking, and he spoke as one who had an ultimate power, and it was amazing the words that he spoke, and people are going who is this guy? But these were the first words that he spoke, and we've been hanging out in those red letters. And he started off and said stuff like this. He said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." What he means by that, we will kind of walk through it. You got to go back through this series. It's been incredible, mainly because I haven't taught very many of them, so it's been really good. But it's blessed are those that realize that they're spiritually busted. Because when we realize that we don't have it all together, when we realize that we're not God's gift to humanity, when we realize that we can't hold our life together, that's when we're in position for God to work in our life, where we could receive the kingdom of heaven, where he could do some stuff in and through us. And then he said, blessed are those who mourn, which sounds awful because normally you don't think people that mourn are blessed. And he said, but what we mean by that is mourn over the stuff that's broken and busted in us, our rebellion against God, but also mourn against the stuff that's broken in our society and broken in our world that's opposite of what God is. Blessed are those who mourn, for they're going to be comforted. And then he said, blessed are those who are meek. That's a weak word. But what we realize is that meekness doesn't equal weakness, that meek equals that power that you have, that everything that God has given you under his authority and under his control. Blessed are you when your power or your direction, or you've given over the reins of your life for God to lead. Blessed are you when that happens. And it's blessed are those who hungered and thirst for righteousness, for they're going to be filled. So it's that idea of being right standing with God, and then doing right by God in the world. So like when we understand, blessed are you who hunger and thirst for like realizing who we are as a rescued son or daughter of God, because we are in right standing, hallelujah, as non-perfect people, as broken and messy people, we can be in right standing with God. And then he goes, and then you go do right by God in the world, like what he would want to use us for in the world. And last week we walked through, blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. And you got to go check that out. An incredible message. Today we're going to walk through, blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. And then I have an announcement. I'm so pumped for this. Next week we're going to walk through, blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the children of God. And Tiana Spencer from Fellowship Church in Monrovia. We love Tiana. She's led worship. She has taught. She's been at our Spark events. It is going to be on fire. Mission will be on fire next week. So I'm excited for Tiana Spencer. So like mark your calendars for that event next Sunday. It's going to be incredible. But today we're walking through, blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. So I just got a question. How's your heart? Not like, have you been to the cardiologist? Not like, do you need an arteriogram to scope some things out? But you know, that invisible part of you, that thing that makes you who you are, that philosophers and poets and preachers refer to all the time. It's that thing that got broke in you when she said, or he said, I just want to be friends. And you knew that they didn't even want to be friends, that it was just that thing that was your fault and not their fault. It's that part of you that swells in pride, up in pride when your kid does something good or incredible and something great. It's that part of you that like gets nostalgic when you hear like an old Counting Crows song or a Journey song or a Pearl Jam song or a Grateful Dead song. I don't know, maybe Taylor Swift song. I don't know what it is for you. In fact, what is it that like takes you back in your heart? What band or what song? Type it in the chat. You're going to be good. Type it in the chat. What band or song takes your heart back in a good way? It makes you think about the good times or makes you think about places that you've been. Just throw them in there. It's going to be great. I've given you a couple. You'll probably come up with better. It's that part, the heart, the part of me that's like mariposas, you know, the stuff that swells, like fills up when Jody grabs my hand in a car when we're driving. The heart, it's that mysterious, wonderful, confusing part of us that we don't get all the time. It's the part of us that enables us to love and to laugh and to fear. It's experience life. It's the sphere in our world where we experience relationship with, like relationship gain and relationship hurt. It's where our heart can get broken, but life can be hard on the heart. And no one asks this question very much. Like, how's your heart? How's your heart? Not your career, not how you're doing during the virus, not your family, not your finances, not your schedule, but like your heart, the inner part of you. I mean, we got meals to fix and school to figure out and Zoom meetings to have and bills to pay and calls to return and emails that we don't want to be anymore and like we can't get out of our house. Like it's all this stuff. But how's your heart? Because what we defer to, most of us, and I'm guilty as any of us, is we defer to being hypophoniacs, where we just chronically say we're fine because we don't think anybody really wants to know about this, and we for sure don't want to tell anybody about it. So we just say hypophoniac, like how's your heart? I'm fine, I'm good, I'm fine, we're fine. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Everything's fine. No, your world's falling apart. No, it's fine. You know, you lost your job and haven't worked in 4 months. It's fine. No, like I think your like marriage is splitting up. No, it's fine. We're fine, we're fine, we're fine. We always want to put fine forward because we've learned from an early age that no one really cares about this. Because at an early age, no one asked us to monitor our hearts. Parents, this is for us. Most of us grew up where our parents only monitored our behavior, never taught us to monitor our hearts. Meaning, like, behave good, you get good things. Behave bad, bad things happen. No one cares about your heart or what you're feeling. So we learn to modify our hearts, our behavior to avoid pain, and I've been doing that ever since. Let me tell you, like, one way this week I totally messed this up. Like, I avoid pain at all costs. And so I was at CVS, I was buying something, masked up, and I'm like just buying something real quick, and somebody from Mission who was masked up all the way was right behind me and was like, "What's up, Mike?" And I'm like, I 1,000% thought that I knew who they were. And I was like, oh, I thought you were getting deployed, because I thought it was my friend that was getting ready to be deployed, or he's getting ready to be deployed in like a day. And I'm sitting there talking to him. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm so happy for you. I'm going to miss you so much. And this guy goes, whoa, 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 whoa. Just so we're clear, like, what are we talking about? And I knew in an instant that I had the wrong person. So I felt like an idiot. I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh my goodness, how could I ever admit that I just messed up this guy? I know who this guy is, and I know who the guy that I was talking about, and I just blanked in an instant. But instead of admitting in that moment that I messed up, I just tried to play it off as much as I could, walked out, and I'm like, why did I do that? Like, why did I just try to pretend like I didn't mess up when I messed up in the moment? I could have just told him, like, I literally blanked. I know exactly who you are. I know who your wife is. I know everything about your story, and I should have not messed that up, but I messed it up. But instead, I tried to play it off as best as I could. Ever been there? And you know who you are, and I love you, and forgive me. But that's what happened to me. So, because we learn this, like, if I can just avoid pain or avoid embarrassment or avoid fines as a little kid or avoid spankings, or like, if I can just avoid the pain of life and try to get by on my behavior. So what happens is, as kids and then as adults, we get really good at this. We are really good at monitoring our behavior and spouses, friends, behavior, and we're really good at monitoring behavior in them. But we're really terrible at monitoring our hearts, because no one ever asked how to monitor our heart. And in a culture that is obsessed with how we look, with our image, where if you're the brightest or the best, you're considered the smartest, God speaks into this culture and said, I don't care what you look like on the outside. I'm not really worried about your trophies and medals and your achievement and your promotions. I'm not worried about your accomplishments or your acquisitions or your wealth or your popularity. God speaks Jesus' first statements into an upside down kingdom that he's creating. He says, blessed or happy are the pure in heart, for you will see God. And I look at that, I'm like, that's great. It sounds great. I mean, I could probably quote that and call it good. Man, sound like a biblical scholar, like I know the Beatitudes, the attitude I'm supposed to have on the inside because I'll be blessed and happy. But I'm like, what does that mean? Pure in heart and getting to see God. Like the see God aspect that we're talking about is the presence of God, the power of God, the purpose of God, the peace of God, and the pardon of God. Like when we're the kind of people from the inside out that God is calling us to be, we will be happy and we will get to experience. God's going, my friends, the people that I'm like going after, the people that I call a man after my own heart, when they go, the trajectory of their heart is after me from the inside out, they get to experience my presence and they will see my power work. And they will understand that they live within that purpose, that I've called them to be much loved sons and daughters, and I have a plan for their life to prosper them and not to harm them, to give them hope and a future. And they will understand my peace, that no matter what happens in this world, no matter what circumstances we're walking through, that we can be able to see God and be in relationship with him, because we're the same from the inside out. We understand that peace is in the midst of the turmoil, not in spite of the turmoil. And we understand that we have been pardoned very much by a loving God, in spite of all of our rebellion and all the imperfect things and imperfect people that we are. He says that person right there, the pure in heart from the inside out, they can see me. Well, I want to be that. I want that in my life. I want that in our life. I want that in our church. Like if you haven't experienced what this is like to be in relationship with God, then man, I want that for you so bad. And Jesus would say, you want to know how you get that? Be pure-hearted. Be pure in heart. So I'm like, well, what does pure in heart mean? I mean, like I grew up in the South, and like when we talk about the heart, we want to say, God bless her heart, God love her heart. Like, I don't know, pure in heart, I think I can kind of get close, but let me just give you a word that maybe would help us with like what pure in heart would mean today, because nobody's calling anybody pure in heart. We want people to be pure in heart, but we don't know how to define it when we see it. It's just that thing out there that we think people should be. Maybe when we think pure in heart, we should think like integrity, like solid all the way through. Like what you see is what you get. Doesn't mean perfect, doesn't mean sinless. It just means the trajectory of our life has integrity. Maybe it's helpful to realize that I'm learning anyway, maybe it's helpful for us, that God is more interested in the direction of our heart than in the sins that we commit. Does he care about the sins? Does he care about the rebellion? Absolutely, he cares about that. But he is most interested, you look in the Bible, do your work. God is way more interested in the trajectory of our heart than he is the rebellion that we commit. He's way more interested in our attitude than our actions, in why we do, in the why we do what we do, instead of the what we actually do. Because he's going, man, there are people in the Bible that did the wrong things but had the right heart, that he's like, that's a man after my own heart. And then there were people in the Bible who did the right things with the wrong motives, and they're like, yeah, that doesn't count. So maybe some pictures for us, 3 ideas around what it means to be pure in heart or have integrity, is that we could kind of put this around it. Is that this idea of wholeness, like solid all the way through, like what's on the inside of us is the same as what's on the outside. There's no compartments, there's no segments. It comes from that idea in math. If you're a math geek, I love you because I grew up loving math. It's that integer, it's that whole number, it's not fraction, it's not a decimal, it's whole, it's integrated, opposite from segregated. Like if something is integrated, it's all of us as imperfect people. We are all one. If it's segregated, we're trying to keep things out and we don't want to be that. It's solid all the way through, it's whole. Some of us, our lives, if we're being honest, we don't want to talk about this at parties, but we think there's a work life, it's like a pie. There's like a spiritual life, I do my time. There's like a family life, a social life. There's like a sex life, a secret life that I don't tell anybody about, and a friendship life. And if you're living life like that in segments where I would just say that is the opposite of pure-hearted. That is the opposite of integrity. Because integrity is wholeness. Another idea of like pure-hearted and integrity is that it's authenticity. What you see is what you get. Who you are in this environment is who you are in this environment. The language you are in this environment is the language you are in this environment. The same on the outside all the way through to the inside. You keep it real. You're the real deal. There's no fake, no phony, no fugazi. I know what a fugazi, it's a fake, it's a fraud. Well, we'll get back there later. But you don't fake it till you make it, because you're the same all the way through. Another picture is that you have the right motives. Like if you're pure-hearted with integrity, you do the right thing for the right reasons. You're sincere and straightforward. It's that what I am when no one is looking, what I think, what I act like, and what I do when no one finds out, who you are in that moment is like who you are. We are interested in image, but God is interested in integrity all the way through. We are interested in reputation, but God is interested in character. Reputation is what everyone else thinks that you are, but integrity is who you really are when no one is looking. Reputation is what you are in public. Integrity is what you are all alone with God. And this is not a new idea to God. Being pure-hearted, having integrity. This is a central idea from all the way through of what God has been calling his people to from all time. Jesus is going, you want the best life? You want to be happy? Be solid all the way through. Be pure-hearted. Have integrity. Goes back to 1 Samuel 16:7, where man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. God has always cared more about the heart than the outer. Proverbs 4:23, guard your heart above all. If you could do anything else, guard your heart. Because out of that heart, it determines the course of your life. So guard it. Be pure-hearted. Have integrity. Be a man or woman of integrity. It's the most important thing. So this heart that we have is crucial to Jesus. What we are down deep in the deep places of our life is what he cares about most. Jesus did not come into this world simply because we have some bad habits that we need to get rid of. He came into this world to forgive our broken, messy hearts because we need to be pure-hearted. So maybe Jesus was right, that the heart seeps into every conversation. It dictates every relationship. Our very lives, we live from our heart. We live, parent, lead, relate, romance, confront, react, respond, instruct, manage, problem solve, all from the heart. But all this pretending and behavior modification becomes problematic because it teaches us to ignore the true condition of our heart. And all of a sudden, when we get annoyed or aggravated or frustrated, all this stuff starts seeping out. I can't believe I just said that. I don't know where that came from. That's not like me. I just had a bad day or I had a bad moment. I can't believe I did that. That's not like me. And Jesus would go, I know exactly what that means and where that came from. And it's 100% like you. Like Matthew 15:8, these people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. Jesus going, I know exactly where the stuff that seeps out of you comes from your heart. Matthew 12:34, out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. Man, if you don't know anything about God or anything about Jesus or anything about the Bible, first thing I would say is that God is not mad at you. God wants the best for you. And this red letter sermon, Matthew 5, the beginning of it, Beatitudes, that's going this is the best way to live. And God's going, I know what's best for your heart, and I care the most about your heart. So let me just say, have a heart of integrity and have a pure heart. So one of the things that I'm learning, maybe just to be real practical in this moment, because that can be real out there and be that sounds really spiritual and cool to say, I'm trying to have a pure heart, I'm trying to have a pure heart. Let's maybe dig down a little bit for the last few moments that we have together of what does that actually mean? How do I actually do that this week? How do I go after a heart that's whole? Or a heart that has the right motive, a heart that has integrity? What do I do actually? Well, I would say first and foremost, let's do this. Let's keep our word. It's hard for some of us. That's hard for me. I have a desire to want to keep my word, but I end up forgetting something or messing something up. I missed an appointment this week with a coworker, and I'm I am so sorry. It was my bad. I want to keep my word, but I messed up in that. Lacks integrity. Lacks pure-heartedness. Why don't we be the kind of people that keep our word? Are you the kind of person when you say your yes or your no, that they know exactly what you mean? Because I want to be pure-hearted. I want to have integrity in that. Second one, I'm going to meddle. It's going to be fun. We got to pay our bills. Because we want to have financial integrity. We don't want to kind of be the kind of people that spend more than we make and can't or always suffering underwater because we can't figure it out. We want to be the kind of people that pay our bills because that's a commitment or a promise that we made. That's a thing that we did. And we may not be very good. Our parents may not have been very good at it, but we're going to be the kind of people from this point forward that financially we're going to have integrity. We're going to be pure-hearted financially. We're going to put our heart in the right place financially. A simple way we can do that is pay our bills. Third, we're going to refuse to gossip. Even when it's easy. We want to have a relational integrity or relational pure-heartedness. So when something comes our way, when we hear news, we're not going to think it's our right or responsibility to tell the whole world about it. Because we're going to refuse to gossip. Fourth, we're going to work hard. Not just when the boss is there. Not when just we get credit for it. In fact, biblically, there's so many verses that support all of these things, but biblically, if you want to realize that what God has placed in front of you as work is really important to him about how you work and who you work for, because you're not working for your boss. I'm not working for my boss. God is my boss. And so I want to work in such a way that gives him honor, because I want to have integrity and be pure-hearted in the way that I work. Lastly, I want to be real. Not going to pretend to be better, not going to pretend to be worse. It's just what you see is what you get. Can you imagine if Christians really, if Mission walked into our next week and month with this is like, I'm going to be the kind of person that has relational integrity and financial integrity and vocational integrity and authentic integrity, that what you see is what you get. And I've not kept my word all that much, but I'm going to be the kind of guy or kind of the woman that is pure-hearted because I want to see God. And I don't want that to be an obstacle. If you're like, well, I'm pretty good at that, let me just give us a bonus round of the next level of pure-heartedness and integrity. Let me just challenge us all, if you feel like you're kind of moving forward. If you want to know what the next level looks like, if you want to level up, go after this. Go after proactive generosity. Because I want to be pure-hearted in the fact that God provides for me, and I want to be whole all the way through. And so I'm going to proactively be generous. I'm going to proactively sacrifice. I'm going to proactively give, not reactively, because I'm going to put him first. Because what comes first is most important to me. Second area of leveling up, bonus round, is I'm going to practice forgiveness. Because I've been forgiven much. So if I'm going to be pure-hearted and have integrity all the way through, then I've got to make sure that I realize how much I've been forgiven and how much I need to extend forgiveness. And that's hard. Third, I'm going to celebrate others' success. Because other success has nothing to do with my relationship with God. So I am easy to celebrate the other person's success, even in the same industry, even in the same household. Because I'm pure-hearted, because I have the right motives, because it doesn't matter. I'm so pumped for you, because what happens to you has no reflection on me and what I feel about God. The other bonus round is that I'm going to confess quickly. When who I say that I am and how I live don't match up, I'm going to confess quickly to shrink that gap, because I want to be the kind of person that's pure-hearted and has integrity all the way through. It comes back to this, Jesus' words, Matthew 5:8, one verse in the middle of this sermon is so good. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. And I just want to take a minute and just walk through what this would have looked like for us. And you may not be somebody that wants to be pure-hearted. You may not be somebody that came from a pure-hearted family or a pure-hearted dad or a mom with integrity or a family with integrity. But I'm just saying, if you did, man, you have received such a blessing or such a gift that you had parents that had pure hearts, because they were able to see God and pass that forward. But can you imagine, if you haven't come from that family, what it could look like for those of us that are leading the next generation and passing on a blessing? If we were the kind of people that decided from this moment, like the last 40 years of our life, the last 20 years, the last 2 years of our life, we haven't lived with integrity, we haven't lived with a pure heart, and we haven't seen God. But if we said from this moment on, we are going to be the kind of people that have pure hearts and live with integrity in everything that we do, I believe that we'll see God, and you have no idea what it will be worth to your kids and their friends and their kids and their spouse. Like, we have the opportunity to be chain breakers in our family of people that lacked integrity and weren't pure-hearted. Man, I want this for you. I want this for me so bad, to be the kind of person that has a pure heart and sees God. Why don't you pray with me? God, you knew that we were going to have a hard time with this because our hearts sometimes can get so far from you, but you sent Jesus to rectify the situation, to make it possible for us to have clean hearts before you. God, I'm so grateful for your word. I'm grateful for the challenge to be the same person from the inside out. I want that for all of us. I want to be men and women of integrity, men and women with pure hearts so that we can see everything that you have for us. And I want that for our families and the people that we influence and for generations past us. God, we have no idea what's at stake throughout all of those small decisions that have the chance to etch away at our integrity. Would you help us be pure-hearted in that so we can see you? It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.